Chronic Blaze here, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we are going to be pushing the limits of Minecraft Bedrock Edition. So this video actually strays pretty different from most of my pushing the limits videos. Most of the time, what I like to do is I run the games on my trash PC, and then I like to see how they perform and how much we can get them to lag. This is actually going to be very different because Minecraft Bedrock Edition has some actual limits when it comes to world generation. You can only teleport 30,000 blocks. We're going to be going at intervals and seeing how much we can get the world to lag as we move further and further on. So for this video, I'm going to be using an Xbox One. Why I'm not using my trash PC is for two reasons. One, Rocket League is updating so I can film the video before this one. And two, I want to simulate how this would work on something a lot of people could be using. So to compensate and actually use this game PC, I am using keyboard and mouse, also because it's way easier. But we're going to be trying to push the limits of Minecraft Bedrock Edition. So this is not the spawn point. The spawn point is about 800 blocks away, but I've teleported to 0, 0, 0. So using the teleport commands, we're going to teleport to, we're going to stay around the same layer in the 60s. As you can see, all the way till about 100 blocks seems to be generating fine. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be just teleporting ourselves even further in the world as we go. So now we're in a bit of an underwater section. This is at 1,000 blocks. As you can see, the world is still generating really well. So when I did this, I actually tried this, but I tried it on my good computer. And, you know, this one, it actually worked pretty well. So we see we got a ravine here. It all seems to be generating very well. And this game can generate really far. So right now it seems to be generating. So let's go to 5,000 blocks. And we're in stone. Again, at 5,000 blocks, the world does still seem to be generating relatively well. You can see that the textures do look a little funny. I actually did turn everything up, and it's running fairly well here on the Xbox. So we got another ravine biome. I don't know what it is with this seed and ravines. But as you can see, it seems to be generating really well. Just don't fall in here, and you'll be good to go. Also, don't do this on survival. Just don't. That's a mistake waiting to happen. But it still generates fairly well out to this point. You see we got some ice biomes over here. I've actually never really experienced those ice biomes over there. So now, let's try 10,000 blocks. So still here at 10,000 blocks, and I'm actually really surprised by this. The game is actually still running fairly well. Eventually, the world actually will stop generating. I'm going to say that right now. The game here in this red sand biome thing is actually running fairly well. You see we got the underwater biome over here. Everything's loading fine. I am getting a pretty solid 60 FPS, and you guys can get that on the Elgato. I know the Elgato footage isn't 720p, however, I am running this game. This game could potentially run at 1080p. Now you see, if you see there, these kind of squares, the world is starting to have some challenges generating. So it was fine. Now that we've crossed that 10,000 block mark, even now, I can start to notice, I started to notice a bit of a dip in the frame rate. The turtles were just red for a second. So as you can see, it is starting to generate a little bit slower here. So now I'm interested what's going to happen if we go to 15,000. The way the world was generating at 10,000, it was actually pretty decent. The same actually goes for here. Again, maybe because it was on the water, again with these ravines. Like, what is it with these giant ravines in this world? But on this gigantic mushroom island, which is actually pretty... So, but as we can see, there's a whole lot of water. We can see the water starting to degenerate a bit off in the distance. So now, we're basically going to step this up. We're going to go to 30,000. Again, the world, maybe a bit of a dip in the frame rate, but it's nothing too major. I would still consider this totally playable all the way here at 30,000 blocks away from the spawn. Now, if you're using a PC without dedicated graphics, this is where you might start to see some slowdowns. Obviously, if you want to do full frames, we would lower the settings, but, you know, why would we do that? We're playing on an Xbox One. We don't need to lower the frames. But as we can see here, 30,000 blocks, the world is generating relatively good. So now we're at 50,000 blocks. And yet again, the world is generating well. I'm actually surprised by this. At 50,000 blocks, the world is starting to generate very well. Other than that there, but that's fine. This is really surprising. Honestly, I expected the world to be lagging a lot more by now. But, you know, this actually proves Minecraft is still a good game. You know, giant world. I'm 50,000 blocks away from the spawn point right now, and somehow it is still generating. Now we're going to really start to take it up. Now we're at 100,000 blocks. This is where I would expect stuff to start getting laggy, but it's not. There's no way. Now this is somehow not laggy. The world is still generating well at 100,000 blocks. Did they buff it or something? Also, if you want to see me actually pushing the limits of Minecraft, I am going to do a proper video on this, how I normally do videos of pushing limits on the Java edition. See, a bit of rough textures, still the same water degeneration using the squares off in the distance. But, you know, it still seems to be running fairly well. Maybe if I try walking along the surface, see, it doesn't even do anything walking along the surface. As you can see, you know, the frame rate is a bit not as good as it would be if you're right at spawn, but it's still really good. So now we're at 250,000 blocks, and yet again, other than a bit of a dip in the frame rate, it's nothing too noticeable. I would consider this 100% playable at 250 blocks away from spawn. Now, if you're blowing stuff up, maybe it won't be that good. But as we have it right now, this is totally 100% playable. I'm really surprised by this. I thought that this would be when the world would start to lag. So now we're going to start taking it up. And here we go, again in the mountain, 500,000 blocks. Take a guess what's happening. The world is generating. This is very surprising. I did not think we could push the game this far. So now we're actually going to start to speed it up, because I don't want this to be too long of a video. So, if the world is still generating very well, other than maybe a couple things, just like not as smooth of a frame rate. Like, as you can see, it is jittering. It is now, as we're walking, the world is starting to be pushed to its absolute limits. As you can see, the whole screen is starting to jitter as we move. So now, we're going to do 75,000. And here we see it's the same jittery issue, but to another extent. I don't even know where I'm supposed to go. Now, you can even see the jitteriness while we're flying now. As I'm trying to find where to go. Where do I go? Okay, this way. This will increase the block count. But as you can see, it is starting to get jittery here as well. It is just a little bit more jittery. Now we're gonna go by the millions. So we're gonna go 1 million, 5 million, 10 million. We're gonna kind of go like that, and let's see how things are at 1 million. Now the world is beginning to be pushed to its limits. Again, this same jittery issue. I would consider this still playable, but it's close to unplayable. It is worse than 50,000 and 75,000, which would make sense. But you can still do the main functions of the game. But if you're on a bad computer, this will be pushed to its absolute limits around this point. I think by 5 million, this is going to be really choppy. So this is where I'm expecting the game to basically begin to slow down a lot. At 5 million blocks. So far we haven't seen the jittering. Okay, yep. Here is where the game begins to slow down. If you look at the difference between 1 million and 5 million blocks, it's a really insane difference. See, it's just kind of floating, not a consistent frame rate at all. You can do some basic movements, but not very well. See, I'm trying to swim, but I'm just staying in one spot here. The best movement option is to fly around your world, which barely works. See, once you stop for only a second, you lose basically all your momentum. You see, kind of just shifting to the side by placing S and D. This is what I began to expect from Minecraft Bedrock Edition. This jittery experience. At 10 million, I know it's gonna be even worse. Here's 10 million blocks. As you can see, we're not even moving. We are falling through the ground. We are going through blocks. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. At 10 million, last time I did this, I could move. But as you can see, we can fall through blocks. So 10 million is where the world ultimately stops you from... Oh, we got a bit of movement there. We can move in one direction. We can move, but barely. I'm holding W, A, and D right now. Allowing us to get the most jittery movement. We can still go through blocks. So this is where I'm going to do 15 million. So here are 15 million blocks. Yeah. There is some cool ocean temple thing. We can't even get under. Here again, movement is not allowed. And the world is having trouble generating. Again, that same jittery movement. Let's take it 2 more landmarks. We're going to take it up to 20 million, and then we'll do 30 million. Because here's where the world generally stops generating. At 20 million, things will get very interesting. So let's take it up to 20 million, and let's see what happens. The world doesn't ultimately stop generating at 20 million blocks, though. Because this happens. Movement is not allowed anymore. And we're underwater now. This is very weird. So you can see that is bedrock, and that is water. Very little movement is allowed. But this is what happens at 20 million. We're going to type in 100 million, and it will boot us down to 30 million. So here we go. We're at 30 million blocks, the absolute limit, and this happens. This is the corner right now where the world... This is all I can load at. On my laptop, it was better. Maybe some updates have changed some stuff. You can see some fish trying to swim. But this is ultimately where the world crashes. 30 million blocks. Now you can see it generating more. We can't get anywhere past here without mods. Which sucks because there's like these lava cool temple things. But we can't see them. What are those, guys? If you know, leave a comment. But this is the world at 30 million blocks. And these are the limits of Minecraft Bedrock Edition. The furthest that you can go is 30 million blocks away from spawn. But with that, that's going to wrap up this video. So thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss one of my videos. That's going to wrap up this video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.